Glory to Jesus Christ. What a beautiful Sunday. His baptism is always a special Sunday. And during these occasions when we see baptism of a new Christian, especially when there are babies, parents, godparents, grandparents, they ask these questions probably, or they make these fantasies. What will be his life like? What he's going to encounter in life, and what kind of human being he's going to be. And for sure our wish is that may he has great, beautiful life. A life which pleases God. Life which brings to his life virtues. It means his good qualities, which will make him be like closer an image of God which we lost through our fall. And those are our wishes, but then something harder comes to our mind. What we are supposed to do to provide good formation for this baby. What are you supposed to do to raise him well? May he becomes holy and worthy of salvation. And this question is more difficult because we know how fragile we are, how weak we are. Because we know that passions, bad passions, are very strong, and it requires a lot of power, mental power, strength, taming your body to conquer them. It's difficult for us to think because we are aware of all this influence which world is pushing on us, not good influence. And we might be a little bit scared that slowly his heart may become, as he grows, colder for Christ because of that. And we are lucky because today's gospel gives us some kind of recipe how to protect child, how to protect each of us against this losing fire in our heart for God. And you can say, well, this was just a set of commandments in the gospel. And you are right, those are good commandments, but not only. There are only few commandments which were reminded to us. But I want to use them to remind you one spiritual law. What the Holy Father, teacher of spiritual life, they taught about this law. And we learn about this law when we are studying during our formation classes work of Saint Ignatius Brianchaninov. He gave us summary of their teaching when he said, if you keep God's commandments, you will find Christ in them. So what he's trying to say, that there is some kind of like spiritual mechanism. We can live based on our emotions, that we feel well, because some kind of emotions will warm up our heart for God, and we feel well, but usually we know that it is sooner or later gone. We can read good book, we can listen good hymn, we can hear a really good preacher with fire, who can give us this. All these things can give us this good emotion, but we know that it lasts only for a while and it disappears. Holy Fathers, they teach us that, well, we have to gain different fire which would keep our heart warm for Christ. And this fire is God Himself. And from their own experience they say, if you force yourself to keep commandments, it means to keep God's will, to try to fulfill what God is saying in fullness, you will experience presence of God in your life in intensive way, which will not go away, but it will grow. Fire will become more intensive as we continue to fulfill His will. And this is something what works. It doesn't work this way that we are filled with, we are expecting to be filled with some kind of this fire and now I can do God's will. It's opposite. God expects us, show me that you want me. Show that you try to love me. Show me that you want to serve me, and I will come. And we have this experience which served to these Holy Fathers as a material for formulating this spiritual law. We have this experience that when we force ourselves to do good things according to gospel, God's will, it's really hard and painful in the beginning. But after a while, our soul starts to feel pleasant state. After a while, we start to see that our life becomes more perfect, pleasant, and soul, when soul tastes that, doesn't want to go back, doesn't go to back. It is, well, if I can make this comparison, it is like somebody who neglects like own body, doesn't exercise and becomes very weak, and so in one point makes this decision that, well, I cannot live like that. I will start to exercise. And it is like maybe first day of exercising, maybe it is 5 minutes because, well, I cannot more because my muscles are weak and painful. Maybe next day it is a little bit more. And then, despite of pain, continues the person to exercise every day. Already after 2 weeks or months, suddenly starts to feel this new energy in body. Starts to feel better, and for sure doesn't want to go back to that stage where he was barely walking. The same it is in spiritual life. When we keep commandments, our soul is filled with Christ. Through keeping commandments, we will find Christ. And this is not something what they just created from this experience. They recall the words of Christ Himself, who said, if you love me, you keep commandments. And then He says that He and His Father, Spirit, that all they come and will dwell in us. He's talking about this mystical presence of God in soul of person who tries to love God through keeping commandments. And this is something what it is very important to keep in mind, because this way helps us to keep this fire, God himself, in our hearts. And he will fill us with hope, strength, courage, desire for heavenly things, for noble things. He himself will show us a way of life. He will guide us. He will give us wisdom in difficult moments of decision. He will give us this wisdom to recognize temptations and bad ways which are open in front of us. This is something what should be, our knowledge of the spiritual law should be like basic weapon or common weapon for each Christian. So I would like to wish you to keep and remember this spiritual law, not only for your lives, but apply this spiritual law when you are approaching formation of this little miracle. And it will be sometimes difficult, because sometimes you will need to force him to accept this God's law, which sometimes is not pleasant. We have to deny ourselves. Sometimes you as a parent or godparents, you have to tell him, no, stop, don't do this. And he will give you that look he gave to me after baptism. You know, it was like when we were after chrismation, he looked at me and I could read what is in his mind. You know, I was some kind of confusion. You know, that like before, you were okay, but now I don't know what to think about you after you put me underwater. And it is difficult for parents and godparents and grandparents, you know, when they give you children this innocent, beautiful look. When you are trying to tell them no, it's difficult to resist. And it is pain they have to accept, but it's pain you have to accept too in your life. That despite of this big love you have to say no, and you know that you're probably causing a little bit pain in this little soul. But through this pain and through this obedience to God's law, you are opening his soul to the presence of God, to this fire, which will do great things in his soul. So I wish you keep this spiritual law in your mind. Try to be faithful servants of God, trying to fulfill all his commandments, trying to keep this fire in your midst. And if you do this, you can have hope that he will be worthy of his name. Amen.
Ave Maria Stella